It's that time again. The annual conference of the American Society of Ag Consultants, otherwise known as ASAC, is going to be held in Fort Myers, Florida, this November 4th and 5th. Kurt Covington is one of 9 professionals who will address the conference. The other speakers who will cover a wide range of topics represent Florida Farm Bureau, Florida Citrus Commission, University of Tennessee Institute of Agriculture, National Ag Law Center, Risk Mitigators and Advisors, Tyler Associates, as well as the lead economist for dairy at CoBank, and myself, Chrissy Wozniak from North American Ag. The day and a half of presentations will be followed by ag tours on Tuesday afternoon at Echo Farms, one of my favorite places here in Fort Myers. Attendees will experience farming at its most creative, with unique demonstrations, plants, and techniques being used to help farmers and urban gardeners in developing countries. A second tour at Echo will showcase simple technologies that can improve food, water, and shelter for millions of people. A third tour of a hydroponic grower is also being planned. For more information and to register, visit www.agconsultants.org. That's www.agconsultants.org. See you there. Welcome to the North American Ag Spotlight. I'm Chrissy Wozniak. I am very excited to talk to our guest today. Brad here is working with leading edge technology, bringing precision dairy equipment to the American farmer. He's both president of AMS Galaxy USA, and he's a 4th generation dairy farmer from Cornerview Farm in Kutztown, Pennsylvania. I'd like to welcome Brad Biehl. And joining him today is Director of Sales and Marketing for AMS Galaxy. She's also a dear friend of mine. Welcome, Brad and Suzanne. How are you today?
Doing great.
Happy to be here.
That's wonderful. Thank you. So what's your background? Can you each tell me your backgrounds?
Sure. So at 4th generation dairy farmer, grew up on a small dairy in Pennsylvania and had a tremendous opportunity to spend 15 years away from the farm. Started off with a mechanical engineering degree and then got to work in corporate America for a large oil and gas company. So it's been really fun to see a different side of business and then coming back to the dairy farm and then joining AMS Galaxy has been just a wonderful launching pad to let my passion for the dairy industry and passion for dairy farm families be enacted in everything we do every day, providing this technology to them.
That's excellent.
And I grew up on a farm. It was not a working dairy, but we always had some dairy cows, and I worked with animals in 4-H and just kind of always knew that I wanted to work in ag and dairy industry. So I have a degree in business and have worked in almost every aspect of the dairy industry. I have milked cows. I have worked on the co-op side and kind of that business industry side. And then I've spent several years working in marketing, covering all different kinds of animal health. And I'm really excited to be back in the dairy market, working with AMS Galaxy. I've been here since about mid-2021. So I'm really excited to be working with technology and on farms with dairy producers again, and being able to help solve everyday problems that face dairy producers.
Those are some great resumes for what you're currently doing now in dairy. So tell me about Galaxy. What's the company's history?
So interestingly enough, Galaxy was really born as a company in 2010. And at that same time, is when I was working with my family to try to take and transition our dairy farm from a conventional tie stall barn to a robotic milking facility. So at the same time, I'm learning about robotic milking, learning about different brands of robots that are available. There was a gentleman here in Pennsylvania who's trying to launch a new company and bring a robot brand into the United States that's never been here before. So like strangers in the night, we met, and I started this journey with AMS Galaxy by being the first customer of this startup company. And so there's 10 years of exciting stories, but the short answer is first customer to becoming a small partner, just with passion and love for the product and the industry. And I couldn't get enough. And in 2017, when the founder retired, I had the opportunity to take the reins and begin steering this exciting company. So I'm proud to be a part of it, and just excited to see what the next 20 to 30 years are going to bring, being part of this great team.
That's excellent. And you guys have been growing so fast, and you manufacture a lot of products, from robot milking to your calf cafe to barn lighting and cow comfort. Can you outline your product line for me?
Sure. So, our core and our center is actually, harvesting milk from the cow. So we start off with the Robotic Milking Center. And I think in 2012, we then began to branch into automatic calf feeding. So we partner with an amazing company in Germany that produces milk shuttles for bucket feeding calves, and then an automatic calf feeding system for group feeding. And so that was really our first launching pad outside of actually milking cows. Later that decade, we partnered with an Austrian company, Het1 Automation Systems, and there we picked up a line of feed pushers. We were the first company to bring a bedding robot into the United States, which is really exciting. So a bedding robot is an autonomous vehicle that travels over top of the free stalls or over top of loose housing barns to, dispense bedding into the cow housing area without people. And so it's really an incredible labor-saving technology. And, we're excited that partner has just recently, we're installing and getting ready to commission the very first autonomous feeding robots in the United States that are self-mixing, self-driving, self-dispensing of TMR to milking cows and calves and heifers and steers. So, there's just been this birth and explosion of precision dairy technology that is, making life easier for the family farm, for the commercial farm, and reducing labor. And you mentioned some of these other little auxiliary things like total farm automation and lighting, and even the high moisture corn feeding system that we patented 2 years ago. And those, what I would call little auxiliary pieces of equipment that we brought to the market, are very special and unique, because most of those innovations are birthed out of what I would call the struggle of the dairy farm family, which is very real to us, because we are not just an equipment provider. We have our own farm. So we milk 130 cows. It's supported by my family, but it is a place where our technical team interacts. It's where we do training of not only our internal staff, but for our customers. And because it's real life, we encounter real problems, both technical problems, people problems, or farm employee problems, and also, the financial challenges that come along with being on the roller coaster of the dairy industry. And so where there's pain, there is innovation. And so that innovation has led us to some amazing products. And I would say the biggest and most exciting one that we launched was this high moisture corn feeding system that came out 2 years ago, providing tremendous savings to robotic dairy farms of all brands. So,
wow, that's so cool. And I guess I'm curious about the robotic feeding and the bedding. So does it has to go reload itself. So how does that work?
Sure. Do you want to go ahead, Suzanne? I'll let you talk a little bit. I'll take a breather.
So with both of those, you have for the feeding, you have a kitchen, and for the bedding robot, you have your basically your storage area. So there is an element of loading the kitchen with all of the feed ingredients, and with the bedding, you do have to kind of load that, but you're looking at a much less labor intensive, filling of those receptacles. And then the bedding robot and the feeding robot each go back to their respective homes, and they fill up with either the bedding or the feeding robot weighs out all of the ingredients. It mixes everything right there in the kitchen. And then they go along their little path. The bedding robot runs on a rail above the animals, and the feeding robot actually runs with magnets that are placed in the ground. So it uses magnets as kind of its track, if you will. And it's pretty neat to watch it just kind of drive along and take care of everything that you need done. The feeding robot is charging while it's mixing, so it can be feeding around the clock. And we recently visited a farm that was mixing 8 different rations and feeding 22 times a day. So not just reducing the labor involved, but also with both the bedding and the feeding, you're doing a lot more smaller portions, if you will. So when you're bedding less every time, but bedding more often. So then you have less waste of bedding falling into the aisles and being kicked out by cows. With feeding, you have less feed refusals, and you also are constantly putting out that fresh feed, encouraging cows to come back out. So it's not just a matter of saving your labor. It's also a matter of being more efficient to use your resources more, in a better way that's better for the animals and more productive.
That is.
I have a question, Suzanne. You mentioned you just visited these farms. Did any of the farms with the bedding robots or feeding robots not make it to work at all? Or did they ever mix the ration in perfectly? Or what were you seeing out there? I think that's the coolest part for me.
So the rations were always mixed perfectly. And as long as everything was maintained, then they're showing up for work. You may have to put a Band-Aid on something when they get a little hurt, but they're out there every day still getting the job done at the time that they're supposed to be.
That's so key.
And if something happens that they're not showing up for whatever reason, you have a call right away that says, hey, I have a problem, and you can, address the issue and get them right back to work again. So it was
no holidays or overtime.
No holidays, no overtime, no sick days.
That's amazing.
It's amazing to see what cows do when they see consistency. At the same time, no one forgets. It always happens. And the cows respond and perform and pay you back.
Right. And you touched on the training at your farm. So you actually have a certification training. Can you tell me about that?
Sure, we do. So one of the things that we found early on in our journey with robotic milking was when a dairy producer understood what the equipment was supposed to do, they were more satisfied with the product. So we found that having not just the dealerships in our network be trained on how to understand and operate and maintain the equipment, if we took that one step further and took that depth of training down to the producer level, we were able to give our customers a different perspective. And that perspective allowed them to have choices. They weren't pigeonholed into, if I buy a robotic milking system, there's only one way that I can operate it. I operate it. When it breaks, I need to call somebody, and we've opened doors. So what that looks like is they spend a week at our facility in Pennsylvania. They are in classroom. They are in a what we call our training bay, where we have the parallel is the automobile that has no fenders on it. The hood's ripped off, the dash is out, and you can see the guts of the machine. And we teach about the technology, not just how it's supposed to work, but why it does what it does. And then we have the element of the operating dairy, where we can see the robot milking cows. We can see how sensors work. We can see how sensors respond. We can teach them not just how to maintain it, but also how their management will change when they go on and become a robotic dairy producer. And so these elements equip a dairy producer to start milking with their new product with a totally different feel. So they walk out with a certificate, but that certificate gives them confidence. It gives them competence to make repairs. It gives them the authorization to do even warranty repairs on their own. And the result, really the reality is we have two completely different ends of the spectrum. And we have some dairies that will walk out and they will do 100% of their operation and maintenance on their own for years and years and years and internalize some of those labor costs and be super successful. And we have others that do a mix. And then we have the far end of the spectrum that said, you know what, I'm really glad that I took that course, because for at least the understanding of this is what it's supposed to do, and this is what it does when it's working. And now I can call somebody because I'm really focused on, my cow health, or I'm really focused on planting my crops, and I still want to hire someone else to do the repairs and service. They have that option too, but they can do it in a much more controlled fashion. And at the end of the day, we believe that drives success and profitability on those dairies.
That's it.
I think.
Go ahead.
I think that you mentioned a really key thing there is about the management. And, Brad really talked a lot about the milking robot, but even if you're going to automated calf feeding or automated feed mixing, there is a mental shift in the way that you're managing. You're going from managing cows to managing people, and now you're managing technology and data. And that's a big leap. And so not only are we teaching people how to repair and be hands-on, we're also teaching them how to change their management philosophies. And we really try to give a lot of the tools, regardless of what product they're working with, to be able to manage it. We have an online web store that all of our customers can get their own account to the online web store. They can log in. They get the part that they need. We direct ship it right to them. And so just giving these producers the tools to manage their farm exactly how they want to manage it, and teaching them some of those alternative management styles and the way that they have to shift their thinking when they're looking at automation to help run their farm.
That's incredible. And are you seeing as a byproduct of that, of this thinking outside the box, is really developing a team mentality with your customers if they're spending that much time with you?
There's absolutely a relationship that happens in that week. And I think it not only with the person who's teaching the class, but with our whole organization, anyone they interact with, they feel like they're part of the Galaxy family. And we often say that, while we have 130 cows milking on our small training center site, we really take care of thousands of cows. So our customers' cows are our cows, and that's the mentality that we have.
Yeah, that's a great way to look at it. And an interesting newer area of dairy farm management is automated herd monitoring. How is that changing the bottom line for farmers?
You want to take that one, or should I?
You can go ahead.
Okay, so it is absolutely just crazy the amount of data that we pick up from an individual cow. And Galaxy has solutions that will provide us chewing data, rumination data, lying data, standing data, data when a cow is in heat, all the way to the cow's position in the barn. We have several customers who have this GPS technology on the cows. And so the amount of information is a bit overwhelming on one side. But when you really get down to it, the way we process that data and give the farmer simple tools that he only uses what he needs, it has made everything streamlined. And at the end of the day, I know our customers have more pregnant cows, and more pregnant cows turn into more pregnant cows, and healthier cows all turn into more milk, and all turn into just a higher efficiency operation. So.
Right.
Yeah. And I also just want to expand on that. With our automated calf feeding solutions, we have data from essentially almost the day that the calf is born, and you're seeing how much they're eating every single day. You're able to see a lot of data about the calves as well. So not only are we looking at using automation for making decisions around the lactating animals, we're also able to translate that into other areas around the farm and just become better managers of animals. It is definitely overwhelming, and everybody's going to pick and choose which parts are most important to them. But it's also amazing to have so many options to really expand how you choose to manage your farm operation.
Right. Yeah. And that data overload is a big point, especially in the age of precision agriculture. It's not just data from the barn, it's data from the tractor, it's everywhere. So how do you recommend a producer sort through it all to make decisions on the numbers that are coming in?
Well, that's really part of the training that happens, not just in the classroom here, but when we commission and start up that equipment on the farm level, we're spending time listening to what the producer's needs are and tailoring that training to their individual challenges, because every dairy's got a different set of challenges and opportunities. So I think there's a journey with every one of our customers. So we have to help them understand what their challenges are and what pieces of data will get them to the next place. And as soon as they solve that problem, there'll be another one, because that's just the way this business works. So
we have a monthly newsletter. We've started doing a video tip of the month. So there's so much data. There's so many opportunities to use data differently that we're trying to take what our producers are saying. I wish there was a way to fill in the blank. There probably is a way to do that. So we're taking the needs and the questions and are trying to turn them into a quick little video tip of the month of how to better use their software to manage some of those questions. Because if one person has it, someone else likely does. And maybe somewhere along the line, they'll say, oh, that's a great thing. I could really use that. So just also trying to learn from our customers of what their needs are, and helping one customer learn from the other as much as we can.
Yeah,
so I have one more comment just on data, which I think is really important. When we talk about what does the next generation dairy farmer or dairy farm family look for, they want more free time. They want to have more flexibility in their schedules. And one of the reasons, and I'm sure everybody listening to this podcast is going to say, I know someone who has never left the farm.
Yeah.
And why don't they leave the farm? They don't leave the farm because they feel like they need to do it all, or they can't trust what's going to happen when they leave the farm. For me as a dairy producer, I recognize and I understand that, but I can leave and I have this, and this phone gives me all the data in the world, because I can check into any system and I don't have to call back to the farm and find out, how did milking go tonight? Were there any sick cows today? Are there any calves that need attention? Because within seconds, I can look at the key metrics, and I don't need anybody to tell me that it's going fine. I don't need anybody to tell me that there's a challenge. And if there is something I'm interested in, I can then engage while I'm away. And I think this technology is just giving us freedom, but it's also giving us some comfort that we know what's going on when we step away from our operations. And I think that's something that's becoming more important to people today, is to be able to get away, and it's healthy to get away. So I love that we can do that for our customers and give them that opportunity.
Yeah, that's a really great point. And looking to the future, to the next generation, with how fast technology is going, it feels like the future is right now. Like a couple of weeks ago, I talked to John Deere about the autonomous 8R, and there's so much happening right now. So why do you guys think that the future of automation is so important?
Yeah, that's a big question. Go ahead, Suzanne.
I think that there's a lot of things. I think we were already moving down this path, and then I feel with the pandemic, I think it's accelerated us in some ways. Obviously, there are labor challenges, and everyone knows, regardless of your operation size, that labor challenges always pose a threat. So with automation, like Brad said, they don't call in sick, they're not on vacation. There's an added level of reliability. I also think that we notice with automations that we're more consistent, and we know how much cows love consistency. And so being able to deliver that consistency through automation is just improving productivity on farms. I also think it's like Brad said, people want to get away, and the next generation. I remember hearing some farmers who have said, "Don't do this. You don't want to be tied down the way that I have. You want to live your life." And I think that quality of life also is a big driver for people wanting to engage automation, to give them some flexibility and freedom. And I think that those, for me, are kind of the big things that I hear often about why someone wants to incorporate automation to their farm.
Yeah, that's great. And many producers right now are focusing on cow comfort. What's your advice to farmers as they narrow down what they want to add to their farm? There are so many options out there.
There are a ton of options. I think, it really comes down to what that farm's needs are. One of our farms that we're working with, they want to have pretty much entirely automated farm so that there's no tractors ever driving in with cows. And they're looking at cow comfort from a slightly different perspective, and their automation is built around the animal never being disturbed, and she can go milk when she wants. The bedding robot comes over and puts bedding in. It feeds. So it's really built around what's ideal for the cow. I recognize that some people need to work within the parameters of what they have, and so a bedding robot is a really easy kind of first step that you're really just improving that cow comfort by giving them fresh bedding. It's fresh, it's clean, it's dry, it's put out every day, multiple times a day, and you're not wasting it to kick out in the alley and gutters. If you're only bedding once a week or something. So I think that that's a really easy way to just kind of bring something in that is so cow focused. I mean, really bedding is probably one of the most cow comfort focused things that we have. And it's an easy thing to put into an existing facility. And even things like the feed pusher, we've talked a lot about the feeding robot, and that's a great option, but even just having an automated feed pusher that is making sure that feed is within reach of your cows, it's coming around multiple times a day. And I know you don't think of that necessarily as a cow comfort feature, but it really is when you think about if you have a herd and you have woolly cows and maybe younger or more timid cows, and the more aggressive cows are right there when the fresh feed comes out. But that young cow or that more timid cow, she needs to have feed available to her too. So, just having some of these simple little things that can improve your cow's comfort and your cow's lifestyle as well is, I think, a really big win for operations.
Yeah, absolutely. And switching gears a little bit, in your opinion, what are the biggest challenges that dairy producers face today?
Dairy producer Brad?
Well, I think when we, the number one thing we hear is finding people who want to do the work. Yeah. And really that ties back to cow comfort. When an animal has to wait on a person, or an animal has to deal with a new person or a new employee who doesn't know how to do it quite right, we're impacting that animal's well-being and that animal's lifestyle. So the challenge is the challenge is navigating your dairy through the economics of getting this technology on your farm, which is in some cases prepaying labor, and being able to have those financials work so you can get the farm to an automation level that's going to take it through the next generation. give that cow comfort that's needed. And I was listening to Suzanne talk about all these ideas, and the one that really resonates with me is when I walk up to a calf barn at a traditional dairy, and I walk up and all the calves start crying. That is a need. We're not meeting the comfort needs of the animal. And when you walk up to a Galaxy farm that has an automated calf feeder from Urban, the calves just kind of pick up their heads and they're like, I just had a meal 10 minutes ago and I'm so satisfied. And there's a different level of comfort there. And so, yeah, the challenge we're facing really is, how do we get this technology on all these farms fast enough so the next generation wants to do it, the next generation can be profitable doing it, and we're taking care of animals the way that we all truly want to take care of them. So.
Yeah, excellent answer. And that comes right into the next question.
Okay.
What are the opportunities that you think producers should be paying attention to? I know you just listed a whole bunch, but really what is it that they should be saying, yeah, this is what needs to happen?
I think we've kind of said this before. It really depends on the operation and the challenges that are there and the people that are in each operation. So I don't think there's a one size fits all technology, dose that we'll throw at anybody. Our goal as our team of product consultants goes out, we try to listen first, and we want to listen, we want to understand, and there's a good chance we could walk away from a producer saying there's nothing that we can help you with here. But more than likely, we'll find opportunities. We'll find a certain mix out of our product line that will satisfy their needs. So I do think that's what makes our company cool, is because we've got these relationships and partners, and we can touch every bit of the operation. Everywhere there's a challenge, we have a solution. And if there's a new challenge, we're feeling it and we're going to develop it. And we're not shy or slow to do so.
Yeah, that's great advice. Great answer. And producers can take comfort in knowing you're not going to just sell them a system and walk away. I think that's so important, especially right now with different sizes of dairies, right? There's fewer small dairies and there's lots of big dairies, and they're all different and they all have different needs. So that's great. And I've heard that you guys have also been globetrotters recently. So where has Galaxy been taking your team?
Like, where in the world is Carmen Sandiego Galaxy style? So we were recently visiting a lot of our vendors over in Europe. It was absolutely incredible for me as a relatively new employee to visit our manufacturer who has all of our automated feeding equipment, and we have some exciting new equipment coming from them. They have a manure robot that we actually got to see in action. So it was really neat to see their facility. And then as we traveled and visited farms, we also got to see the very first feeding robot that was ever installed by this company. It's been in operation for a year and a half, and talked to the producer firsthand about what his experiences have been. And it was also really cool to hear him say, it's worked better than we ever thought it would. Which, as the first one, you recognize you're kind of a test, a little bit of a guinea pig, but he absolutely loved what it was doing for him. And then, seeing farms where they have the bedding robots, and again, the farms that we were visiting were just dairies that happened to have all of this equipment.
Mm-hmm.
So that was really neat. And we also got to see several calf feeding farms. I think one of my favorite was getting to see the calf feeder on a sheep farm and see these little baby sheep that were coming on to the calf feeder, and hearing how differently sheep and goat producers are using the calf feeder compared to how a dairy uses it, just because of the difference in their needs. We also visited a farm that raises beef cows. They raise them from 2 to 4 weeks to 3 months, and the calves never leave the pen. because moving pens is stressful for the animal. So what they do is they actually put several feeding stations on a skid. They can place it in front of the pen, move a gate, place the skid. And then when the calves are weaned, but they're just eating TMR, they can pick up the skid, move the skid, put a gate back in place, and then be able to clean it, do any repairs that they need to, and move it to the next pen. So that was really, really fun to see how some of these different operations are adapting equipment to what their needs are. They're finding innovative ways to use things. What I think was really cool is here we typically think, I'm getting a calf feeder. I need to build a new facility that's set up for automated calf feeders. And we saw many farms in Europe that were old facilities that found ways to adapt and still incorporate automation and make it work really well in whatever facility they already had. So it was really fun to just get to visit some of our vendors and see a variety of operations throughout Europe that are using automation and have been using automation for many, many years.
That is really cool.
And I'll just like to add, when you get to see the factory, you also get to see a little glimpse of the R&D department, and it is so exciting. And I wish there was a way that I could talk about all the things that I saw that are coming. I can't, but it's really exciting. And I'm just excited for the future, because what we know today and what we're going to look like in the next 10 years is just going to continue evolving. So more solutions, healthier cows, happier dairy farms. It just keeps on happening.
That's exciting. And you guys are also at World Ag Expo this week. What's your booth number so people can find you?
We're in the Hansen Industry barns. So that's the DS90 section, kind of like 93, 94. We're in one of those barns in the Hansen Industries area.
Wonderful. So if you're at Tulare this week, make sure you stop by the booth. And where can people find you online if they don't happen to be in California this week?
AMSGalaxy.com. You can check us out. Our full product line is there. And there's links to contact us and learn more about our team and our products. So we'd love to connect with you.
We're also on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube. So we try to keep people updated with what's going on our social media. And we're always looking for new people to engage with and always trying to find new videos to share. So if anybody has videos that they want to share, we'd love to see those as well.
Great. And I have one more question for each of you. Okay. You can take turns. Why do you personally serve the ag industry?
I'll go first.
Okay.
So I believe that the backbone of our country is built from farm kids. And farm kids are, if I take the typical farm and there's 3 or 4 of them, there's hopefully one that's going to carry the torch and keep the farm alive and take it to the next generation. And then there's 2 or 3 others that go out and they're part of the local factory. They're part of the local church or the industry that's nearby, or they move across the country and they're involved in our country in some way. The family farm is an incredible place to grow up. It's an incredible place to learn about equipment. It's an incredible place to learn about animals and life, death, and working hard. And I could talk for hours on the values that come out of that. So I do this every day because I want to find ways to keep the total number of farms up, because everywhere there's a farm, there's a family, and that family shapes our country. So I'm just passionate and excited about continuing to do that.
I could not agree with you more. Suzanne?
I just love dairy farmers. I have always loved dairy farmers. They are such a special breed of people. They are passionate about what they do. They are down to earth. They are just, good, kind of salt of the earth sort of people. And you can always pick out a dairy farmer. In fact, the very first time that I met Brad was at an airport, and I saw him. I'm like, "You're a dairy farmer," and he was like, "How can you tell?" You just know a dairy farmer. They're so different, and I really just love dairy farmers and the dairy industry, and I really love being able to learn about everybody's operation, how they do things differently, and finding ways to help them be a better farm and help them solve problems that they are encountering. So for me, I just really love dairy farmers.
That's awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for joining me today. This is a great conversation.
Thank you.
Thanks,
so much.
Chrissy.
And thanks to all who are watching or listening. If you want to learn more, the links are provided in the show notes. And don't forget to subscribe to North American Egg Spotlight, YouTube, Rumble, or Egg Fuse channels. And the podcast is available on Spotify, Apple, Stitcher, Amazon, or wherever you listen to podcasts. And have a great day.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for listening to today's Egg Spotlight episode, where we put the spotlight on people and companies doing great things for the agricultural industry. Don't forget to subscribe on Apple, Amazon, Spotify, Stitcher, or on your favorite podcasting platform, and give us a 5-star review. You can also follow us on YouTube and Rumble to see the video version of Ag Spotlight. Also, head on over to NorthAmericanAg.com to subscribe to our Industry Connect update newsletter. If you're interested in advertising opportunities, email us at connect@NorthAmericanAg.com. Thanks for listening. Our newest podcast by North American Ag is called What Color is Your Tractor? The stories behind the ag brands you love and the ag brands you love to hate. Hosted by me, Chrissy Wozniak. We take a deep dive into the companies that have built modern agriculture. Subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform. Go to whatcolorisyourtractor.com. Available on Apple, Amazon, Spotify, Stitcher, or wherever you listen to podcasts.